For some people, having a long-term condition like arthritis can present a range of challenges when it comes to work. If you're diagnosed with arthritis before your working life has started, it could shape the choices you make about your career path. If you're diagnosed after your work life has started, it can mean sick days, time off for appointments, potentially long-term sick leave, and even a change in career. The good news is that it is possible to have a fulfilling working life if you suffer from arthritis. So, when starting out in your career or new to your diagnosis, there's a few things that you might need to consider. Good careers advice is essential. If you're in further education, you may have access to careers advice there. If not, then it may be worth having a look at the careers advice section of the government website. Or you could ask your rheumatology team to put you in touch with occupational therapy. They can often help with careers advice too, and will be able to keep in mind any potential challenges with particular careers. Work experience is also a really good place to start to give you a sense of the reality of the job and whether it's for you. Also, disability equality charity Scope has loads of helpful information and links to its employment services dedicated to work and careers on its website. Some examples of the online advice and support available from Scope are help with CV writing, help with job interviews, a guide to self-employment, information about work and benefits, and much more. If you get a job interview, you may think it's a good idea not to mention your arthritis, but sometimes it can be better to be honest. The Equality Act of 2010 says that there are limited circumstances under which you can be asked any health-related questions before you're offered a job. You can only be asked questions to help your employer decide whether they need to make any reasonable adjustments for you to take part in the selection process, decide whether you can carry out a function that's essential to the job, monitor diversity among people making applications for jobs, and take positive action to assist disabled people. However, if you do get the job, then your employer is allowed to ask health-related questions and you will need to disclose your arthritis. Another thing you might wonder is how to tell your employers about your arthritis. Most employers won't know much about it, so it will be useful to explain how the condition affects you. This could include speaking about the pain, how the condition can be variable, including flares and fatigue, and also explaining that you may sometimes need to have some time off to have appointments or tests. It will also be useful to tell your employer the type of things that you might need help with, for example, lifting, or practical adjustments at work. It's important to remember that your medical conditions are private, and your employers should not share any details with anyone who doesn't need to know. If your employers know that you have a disability, then they're legally required to make what are called reasonable adjustments to allow you to continue in your role. Sometimes supporting letters can be useful. It is illegal for your employer to refuse to make reasonable adjustments. If this happens to you, you should ask for legal advice. An opinion from an employment lawyer can often be given for free. So, what sort of adjustments could be made at work once you've told your employer about your condition? Special seating or desks, computer mouses which are easier to hold or can be used with either hand, voice recognition software if typing is painful, a parking space closer to the building, the ability to work from home full-time or part-time, flexible working patterns if you struggle with long days, short breaks throughout the day, a more regular working pattern if you work shifts. If expensive adjustments are needed to allow you to remain at work, then you may be able to get a grant from the Access to Work scheme. This can help with new equipment, adapting the work environment, or with travel costs to get to work. Access to Work can also help with mental health support. Like most things linked to your condition, it's best to be informed, so it would be a good idea to get to know your rights. Good news! Laws have improved plenty in the last few years to protect people who suffer from health conditions and disabilities. The 2010 Equality Act makes it unlawful for employers to treat a person less favourably than anyone else because of a disability, in terms of recruitment, training, promotion and dismissal. It also requires employers to make reasonable adjustments to working practices or premises to overcome substantial disadvantage caused by disability. These can include changing or modifying the tasks that you have to do, altering your work patterns, helping you with travel to work, providing special equipment and allowing time off to attend appointments. When investigating your rights, you may wonder whether your condition counts as a disability. We spoke to a solicitor who specialises in employment and they said, a disability is a condition which has a substantially adverse impact on a person's ability to perform day-to-day tasks, which has persisted for some time or is of an uncertain prognosis. It can include conditions where symptoms come and go. It's fairly well established that arthritis can amount to a disability, although a decision on this is always a question for a tribunal to decide. A degree of discomfort that does not actually significantly impair a person's ability to do something may not meet the definition. You may not want to think of yourself as disabled, however it can be a mistake not to at least have the condition acknowledged by an employer at some point. This doesn't need to be too formal, but ought to be recorded in writing somehow. Ticking no in the "Do you have a disability you'd like to make us aware of" box in personnel records may cause problems if you need to assert your rights in future. Another aspect of work that your arthritis might affect is time off. Everyone sometimes has to take time off from work because they feel unwell, so don't feel guilty. Stay in touch with your employers and if possible, let them know when you may be able to get back to work. After a long absence, a phased return is often sensible and easy to arrange. Lastly, some tips from our community. Be realistic. Before embarking upon a role, make sure it's one that you know you can manage and suits your requirements. I had aspirations of becoming an astronaut, actress and Hollywood makeup artist, but soon realised that perhaps these demanding career paths weren't the right options for me. I'm a lot more comfortable with a laptop and a 9 to 5 than a control deck or having to apply fake eyelashes to A-list celebrities. Be the best that you can be. Instead of being known as the one with arthritis, be the one who is best at their job. Do something that you're passionate about to forget about the things that you can't do. Be upfront with your employers. Tell them your limitations and this will help them to understand how they can accommodate for you. Equality in the workplace is a huge priority and there are laws to protect you from being treated unfairly, so don't worry about your monthly blood tests or physio appointments. There is so much help available. We have filled the description box below with a wealth of useful information and links to lots of brilliant, helpful places. Thanks for watching.